They live everywhere. They live both on land and in the water. They live from the Arctic all the way down to the desert. Earthworms do live in the desert, deep underground. Now, earthworms have segments. These are the segments here that you can see. There are between 7 and 120 segments that are on each worm, depending on the species. And each of these segments have microscopic hairs on them. They're like little grappling hooks. They're called setae. And that is how the earthworm goes through the ground. They grab on with those little grappling hooks and they go right through the ground. Yeah, who's seen the movie Tremors here? Okay, just like that, just like that. Except on a much smaller scale. Now, as you know, earthworms have 5 hearts. They're the only land animal that can regenerate. Now, does everybody know what regenerate means?
No.
Okay. Regenerate means, basically,
If they get cut.
if you cut, for example, if I could regenerate, or if you could regenerate, and you had an accident and you had your hand cut off, you could grow another. Now, what's interesting about the earthworm is the enzyme, which means the chemical that makes them able to form the hand. You guys know what I'm talking about? Okay, okay. What it means is there's a chemical inside that allows it to reform the hand. It's called an enzyme. And what that means is the enzyme that the earthworm uses to regenerate, they're using to regenerate human fingers in the hospital and also to grow skin for burn victims. Just want to let you know. Okay, next thing about it is a worm doesn't need another worm to have a baby worm. They are both.
So there's a boy and a girl?
Yep. That word is hermaphrodite, but you would have no idea what that means. Okay, so anyway, when a worm is ready to have, when they get mature age, when they're old enough to have babies, they have a white collar around their neck, and it's called a citellum, and that's how they have their babies. They don't have babies in the conventional way that you think. They have them in little capsules or cocoons. They look like little amber footballs. And show you what they look like a little bit. Probably going to get this wrong, so tell me if it's upside down. Upside down?
No, it's
All
right.
right, what do you know? I did it right the first time. All right, here we go. This is how small they are. These are the earthworm eggs. This is a dime, just to get you an idea. They're smaller than a grain of rice, guys. And inside each one of those is between 5 and 20 baby worms. Each one of those worms will have one of these capsules about once a week, depending on the species. This is a baby worm. You can see how small it is, and there's an actual worm egg that came out of one of my bins. These are called threads, because when the baby worms first come out of the egg, it's just like a newborn baby. Their skin is very sensitive, and it's white, and you don't want to handle them until the skin turns pink. Yes?
In our class, we have worms, and our worm just had a baby.
So you kind of get an idea of what it looks like.
It came out. It didn't come in a cocoon. It just came out.
Yeah, well, they do that. They do that. They come out and they'll be in the bin, but they all come out of the cocoons. But you'll see some that are just seem like they appear. Yeah, I know what you're talking about because they blend in so good. And when they're white, you don't want to handle them. You don't want to handle them until they turn pink, which is usually 2 or 3 days. Okay. Now, all earthworms,
Upside down.
as usual. Tell me, come on, guys.
Perfect.
Good? All right, cool. All right. Now, earthworms travel. All earthworms travel, whether they're night crawlers or whether they're earthworms. They travel during the phases of the room. And they do that because earthworms like to socialize. Just like you like to be with your friends, they like to be with their friends. During the rain, they travel a lot because their burrows flood. They can dig up to 6 feet into the ground, just to let you know. And they do that to insulate themselves. Do you know what insulation means? It means to keep themselves warmer or cooler. Very important that an earthworm stays damp because they dry out in less than a minute. They've got to have 70% moisture in their bin, and just if it feels like a damp sponge, you're good. If it's any drier than that, let me know. Because you could add the water to it. Now, this is not Photoshop, guys, and I know you're not going to believe me when I show you this next picture, okay? This is not Photoshop, this is not made up, this is actual pictures right off the internet. I'm going to show you 3 or 4 of the biggest worms in the world.
Is it gross?
No, it's not gross.
One of
Why, do you want it to be?
One of them
Okay.
can spit, right?
But anyway, just to let you guys know,
That's fake. Are these real?
that
has
is
to be fake.
that is real. That was 26 feet, and it was shot because it was digging up the interstate in South Africa.
That does not look real. Oh my
It was
god.